Solarpreneur Podcast and a leader who's helped countless solar professionals grow their business and their careers. Today, we're going to go beyond solar and the sales strategy and talk about vision, leadership, service, and legacy. He is a competitive Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu competitor. He has a family and, again, runs the Solarpreneur Podcast. Taylor, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, brother. Yeah, excited to do the podcast, and still remember having you on my show a couple years back. So yes, just happy to see other people creating content out there and putting out good stuff. Definitely needed. So I appreciate it, brother.
Absolutely. Yeah, I've watched more of your content probably than anybody else in the solar space. And so I really appreciate you staying committed to that. We just talked kind of briefly before we started recording. And it's tough sometimes, staying consistent, putting out content. You've been doing content for how many years now?
I think it's coming up on 7 years about, yeah. I mean, I think I was in solar about 3 years, been in solar 10 years. And I think I started the podcast about 3 years into selling panels. So yeah, I've been going a long time, but that's what it's about, man. Just staying consistent. And I believe that that's a key factor in any type of success we want to have. So it's been fun keeping it going and connecting with people that way.
Absolutely. Yeah. You've definitely led by example and led with service. I'm not sure if you've monetized it all recently, but I know a lot of what you do is free, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's something I've believe in it, just putting content out, because I tell this story to people. When I started in solar, there was very little content. If I don't think there was any content at all really in solar sales. It was like you joined the company and you got the training within the company, but you weren't really supposed to talk to other companies. People, like, even on social media, people are like, oh, if you want me to share what we're doing, come join our company. And that was pretty much it. And so, I started at a smaller company. We didn't have a ton of training. We had the guys within our company, but I saw people at other company doing bigger numbers and seemed like they had better trainings. And I would reach out to some of these guys, and I always got that answer: come to our company and I'll tell you what we're doing. And so that's when I'm like, what if I started a podcast, and maybe people would be a little more open to sharing about it on a podcast. And I noticed at work, people like to be featured, right? And then they tend to want to talk to you more when it's like, being featured like that. So that's what I noticed. And it's kind of led me to the podcast. Yeah.
I like that, right? It's like you're revealing all the secrets, and we need more of that. We're in alignment there. That's why I started doing mine as well. As one, right? You can get people to share stuff that maybe they wouldn't share otherwise. And then you can share it with other people. And, like we had Ashton, which we'll talk about a little bit later in the podcast about, some of the stuff you're doing over there at Legacy Power. But we had Ashton on last year, one of the top performers on the team, and he shared some really amazing insights. So we'll link that podcast below if you want to go back and watch that. But yeah, let's get into your journey a little bit, Taylor. I want to just if you could just briefly take us back, like, how did you get into the solar industry?
Yeah. So yeah, people who listen to my podcast probably heard my journey a lot of times, but the short version is, I did a church mission for 2 years in Colombia. I had done a summer selling pest control before that. And then after I got back from my mission, I went and did pest control again. But I had a companion, a guy that went to the same mission down in Colombia as me, named Dallin. Shout out Dallin if he listens to this. But he was talking to me about solar. He went and did solar, and I was trying to get him to do pest control. And then after we finished our summers, we kind of compared like the experiences and how much money we made. And anyone that's been in pest control, it's a grind. You're out there knocking typically like 10 to 12 hours a day, and hot summers, just a grind for like 4 months straight. And so after the summer, I talked to my buddy Dallin, and I'm like, I think I'd made like 10 grand in the summer at the time, which was like, okay, but nothing great really for the amount of work we were doing. And then I asked him, and I think he'd made like 30 grand that summer. And I asked him like how much he was working and all that, and he showed me pictures of them like at the beach all the time. And he's like, yeah, we go to some appointments. We just go out and knock like afternoons and evenings, like 4 to 6 hours. And I'm like, you're telling me you were at the beach half the summer and you made like 3 times the amount I did. And he's like, yeah, it's pretty laid back, man. So I'm like, all right, well, we'll go check it out. And so, went and checked it out. And yeah, the rest is pretty much it. Had some ups and downs, which we can talk about later, but that was kind of how I got into it. And yeah, started seeing the money and just like the lifestyle that I didn't have to be out there like all day long, and can make great commissions doing it.
So you're in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and you've been knocking doors for 10 years. Are you a masochist?
I don't even know I don't. You want to tell what is a masochist? I don't even know if I know what that is.
It means you get pleasure out of pain.
Okay, well, maybe I guess I didn't know the word. So
Yeah.
well,
So
I'm on a
yeah,
I'm
kind
on
of
a
joke.
busted knee right now, so
Yeah.
I guess I did, but yeah, not getting too much pleasure right now. That's for sure.
Fair enough. Yeah, no, I was obviously joking, but it's it's like it's hard work out there. You're out there putting your body and your mind through stuff that a lot of people wouldn't just voluntarily sign up for, and so it's kind of like a joke is like there's something wrong with your head, where you dropped as a baby. No, it's like, right,
Yeah.
because it's so hard. Like, if you look back on your career and look at some of those challenging, we'll call them turning points, can you share one or two of those with the audience?
Yeah, well, I would say the biggest turning point that I've shared many times in my podcast is just, about 3 years into solar, or about a year and a half into solar. I was at a point where I was making like okay money, but I had to make a decision if I was going to go back to school. I'm from Utah, so I was going to school in Utah before that. And my parents were bugging me because they thought solar was just going to be like a summer sales thing. And then, I got married. We decided to go back out there and just try it out. And so about a year and a half, I was at the point where I was making okay money, but not really justifying like skipping out on school. And so I kind of hit a point where my parents were bugging me. I had to make a decision if I was going to go all in on solar and really see what I could do, or just kind of give up and go back to school and then maybe go try it out the next summer or something. And so we had a big competition coming up. It was like they called it the Iron Man. I had been like a top 10 rep, but never, like the best rep at the company I started at. And so I'm just like, you know what? I'm going to just go all in for these next 6 weeks, see how much money I can make, see what I can do. And if it goes well, then great. Maybe that's my answer that I should stay out here and keep doing solar. But if it doesn't go that great and I don't really make more money, then I'll just take that as my sign. I need to go back to school. And so part of it was I wanted to prove my parents wrong too, because sometimes you get that like enemy mindset. You get like your haters, your doubters, right? And you want to like go prove them wrong. Like that's what I think competitors
Especially
do. That they want
right?
to, yeah, because it's like I'm like, man, everyone's not believing in this. Everyone's not believing that I can make like a great opportunity out of this. And I'd seen other people go make great money. I'm like, why not me? So yeah, I did all the things. I hired like a coach. I just like got extra accountability. I had my wife go like drop me off in neighborhoods to knock doors. So I couldn't like leave once it got hot or once it got hard or anything. So she was taking me out, dropping me off at like noon, and not picking me up till 7, 8 o'clock at night. And yeah, that's how I did it for the next 6 weeks. And then yeah, I ended up making more money than I ever had up to that point. I think I made like, you know, 25 grand or something in the next 6 weeks, which was more than I had made at that point. And in that time too, solar commissions were way less than they are now. So yeah, it was just like, for me, it was kind of like life changing that I could go and make something out of nothing and just hold myself to that extra accountability. And then, once I made the money, I think I showed some of the paychecks to my parents, and that kept them quiet for a minute, and they didn't bug me for a minute after that. Kind of bought myself some time. But yeah, that was kind of my turning point that I tell everyone, where I had to make the decision to just go all in. And I think people listening to this, there's a lot of people in solar that they haven't really bet on themselves. I see so many people treat this as like a part-time thing, that they don't really know the potential, the opportunity, because they haven't like challenged themselves like that, and they're just like, I'll go all in on solar when I see the money. Well, it's like, you're probably not going to see the money until you go all in, until you hold yourself to that standard, until you make that decision. So that's what I challenge guys on my team all the time, and people to do, to really just bet on yourself, and yeah, treat solar like the opportunity it deserves, because I think that's when you're going to make life-changing money, and that's when you're going to see the most results for it. So yeah, that was a big story and big turning point for me.
That is awesome. Thank you for sharing that. I couldn't agree more. And I've noticed a pattern when I talk to top performers is that they do have to kind of get away from, or create some distance from people, usually in their family or immediate circle, who are doubters. And they're like, what are you doing knocking on doors? That's not a real job. Or, is that real money? And just all the kind of negativity that can come from people who, don't understand the entrepreneur's path, right? And that's really what I see, is that you've kind of paved the entrepreneur, obviously the solarpreneur pathway for people, and you're sharing that, generously now. You mentioned your family is in Utah. Do you have any family here in Southern California nearby, or is it just you and your family?
Oh yeah, it's just us out here. We have like an aunt. Yeah, I got an aunt and an uncle in Hemet, which is about an hour from us, hour and a half. But yeah, other than that, just us out here. So, and I
Makes
think we kind of had to create our own thing, create our own opportunity in life, which is good in a way, because when you're out of your comfort zone, when you're away from family, it forces you to yeah, I think it forces you to go in on yourself more, see what you can do.
makes
So I think
sense.
it's been good for us. Yeah.
Has there been any early lessons that you learned in your journey that you still apply today?
um well, just like I mentioned before, just the coaching and accountability aspects, because part of what was that turning point for me is I got like the extra accountability, I got the coach. And so I think people need to think of ways of how they can, um, try things maybe they haven't done before. Because when you're in the right corner, when you, like you brought up, surrounding yourself by with like-minded people, maybe it's, you got to get out of the environment you're in, get around. They say you're the average of the 5 people you're spending the time with. So it's like, maybe you need to get around other people that can challenge you more. So I'd say those were some of the things that helped me the most, is just getting extra accountability, getting extra training, sharpening the saw. And yeah, I even put money on it too. Like, if guys want to get super serious about things, there's this app. It's called Stick. I think it's STIKK, where you can bet money. I don't know if you've heard of it, Jonathan, but you can bet money. Like, you can send it to your buddy um, for not hitting the standard you set for yourself. So it's like, if you say you're going to go make 10 calls or talk to 10 people or whatever, knock X amount of doors, you don't do it, then you can have it set to automatically send the money to like a charity. So for you, Jonathan, I know we could send all the money to like the Democrats and everything, and you're gonna work harder than anyone, right? So
It's the negative. They
it's
call it
like,
like the anti-goal. It's like, hey, if you don't hit this
uh,
goal, yeah, we're gonna donate, $1,000 to, Kamala Harris's campaign.
exactly, yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, Jonathan's gonna be out there all day if that's on the line. So,
You know me well.
yeah, yeah,
No,
yeah,
that's awesome.
yeah.
So I totally agree. It's like mentorship's key. It always blows me away whenever, reps who either, yeah, one, like I have a lot of people on my team that quite frankly haven't gone all in. I don't want to put anybody on blast, but a lot of people treat this like it's a part-time gig, and they make, really good money on the deals that they put through, but they don't go all in. And we can maybe talk about that a little bit, but I've noticed that a lot of people just won't invest. I was telling my wife, I don't know, several days ago, I was like, it's so frustrating how people will be like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to spend $20 on a book or $100 on a course, or let alone the very, very few who spend thousands to go to live events and attend workshops and go spend, several days or a week away from their family to really commit to themselves and their journey and their growth. And like you said, put yourself in a good environment where you can really immerse yourself and learn. A lot of people won't do that. Like I've been, a lot of people know, a fan like Tony Robbins. I've spent over $20,000 on his mastery university programs, attended a lot of live events, met him a lot of times in person, won some awards, attended other workshops and events, a laundry list. But the point is, I've spent not quite, I think just under six figures in the past, 13 years or so in my journey, investing into myself. And I think a lot of people, they kind of have that mentality similar to the all-in mentality where they go, I'll invest when I get this much money, or I'll invest in myself when. And the reality is, a lot of times whenever I invest in myself, I remember one time I went to a Tony Robbins event and I had money for the ticket. It was Date with Destiny, and it was in 2015. It was out in Boca Raton, Florida. I had barely enough money to get the plane ticket, and then I bought the ticket, which was like $5,000 to that event. It was like a 6-day event with Tony Robbins, and I had no money when I landed. I literally, for the first night, slept on the floor of the airport and was trying to reach out to people who were also at the event to have somebody come pick me up at the airport to take me to day one of the event, because I literally I just had to find a way, and a lot of people don't have that mentality of like, we call it burning the boats, right? Where you just kind of cut off all other options or decisions. And they just have this mentality of like one foot in, one foot out. And I think it's what hurts people the most in their entrepreneur journey. So I just love that you have that same experience. Like, mentorship is worth every penny. You've tried to make mentors available for free on your podcast, obviously, as do I. So, as somebody who has been doing this 10 years, I'm really just curious to hear from you as a leader in the space. What are you most excited about with the future of solar and home energy?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's requiring a new level of professionalism. I'm sure you'd agree, solar's changed a lot, just to where you do have to be more all in. I think, to your point, going all in. Yeah, I love that story. That's crazy. You showed up to the event with. I've never done something like that, but it's a good story. But it's like now, maybe in the past, I think guys could come into solar and not really know a lot about the product. Um, I think when we both started, you really needed very little product knowledge to go out there and just knock a door and say, hey, we're just gonna switch you over. No batteries needed. You just pay a lower bill, and that was that. But what I've seen, the way solar evolves is like you just have to know way more about the process. You have to know way more about the batteries. You have to know how to size the batteries correctly. Because I think we're seeing a time where, at the time we're recording this, there's so many companies now that have disappeared. And, we just saw the whole freedom for everything. And I think a big reason for that was just because guys were going out being knuckleheads and not knowing what they're offering. And yeah, just putting customers in a bad spot, not knowing a lot about the product themselves. So I think the people that are going to stay in solar are the ones that are professionals, that learn about the batteries, that learn how to size things correctly, that learn how to really explain the process well to the homeowners. Just because, yeah, it's now more than ever, we need people that can be professionals and go out there and explain it. And that's how you're going to get these things to the roof and keep solar sustainable. So yeah, that's what I'm excited about. Just that now, I think we're going to see a lot less knuckleheads out there, a lot less of the solar bro culture where it's just like you go out and it's all about the money. I see solar being more like, maybe similar to like a real estate thing where it's like we've seen it get more and more regulated. Now we got more strict welcome calls and verifications for homeowners, which, first we complain about it, but I think it's going to be a good thing ultimately because it protects us. Right? I'm seeing even where, I've had some experiences recently where customers have tried to like say that, that I didn't explain one thing or another. And like, I can literally go back now to like a welcome call that they did and they recorded. And actually, yeah, I'll share just one experience. Recently, I had a customer who said that I created like his email, that I put in a fake email for him or something. He was like an older guy. And so I told him to like create his email, and then, he did it. He created the password and everything, did everything. But he was an older guy, so maybe he didn't even remember that he created it. But he tried to come back later and say that he never got anything and that that's not his actual email and all that. And I'm like, hey man, like you did this and you confirmed with the company that that was your email that you have control of and you created. You did it, so you shouldn't be like, don't come back and say that I did fraud. Like it makes it sound like I'm doing fraud or something. And he's like, oh, and he kind of like realized that he was making up stuff, and we actually got it installed, which was great. but yeah, just situations like that. I was actually glad that we had a verification process, because I mean, in the past, the guy could have come and claimed something like that, and I think it could have caused a lot more problems. But
Yep.
since there's more strict verifications, it actually protected me as the sales rep. And I was able to go back to that welcome call and show him that he actually confirmed that he created it and had control of it. And then I think he realized that he maybe just forgot or whatever. And then
Nice.
we ended up getting installed just a couple weeks ago.
I love
So
that.
yeah, I mean, that's what I see. Yeah.
That's a good story, and I mean, I just last night it was 9 p.m. and I was watching the Michael Jackson documentary with my wife, and my rep calls me and he's like, "Hey, I'm with the customer right now. Can you jump on a speakerphone call?" So I'm like, "Sure." Let me pause what I'm doing, jump on a call, and he's like, starts getting real defensive about stuff. Oh, I never knew I pay a $20 connection fee to the utility, and nobody told me that. And the rep's like, "Sir, you talked to 5 different companies. Like, I'm sure a lot of them told you, I told you for sure how much, the connection fee was." And well, I don't know. And, he's just kind of like, and his experience is not uncommon. Like a lot of homeowners, they essentially have a certain type of like buyer's remorse. Maybe they signed up for the program months ago and they forgot, 90% of what you even said. And now they've got this system on their house and they're like freaked out, and they just take it out on the sales rep, or they start to like forget or misremember things. So that's really good. Like, yeah, the verification calls are there to protect not just the homeowner, but the sales rep, to make sure everything is because people forget, and that's why I try to record things and try to have a system and try to say the exact same things every time. But there is room for human error, and I think it's good because there are people out there who just have the mentality like, hey, let's just go and, make as much money as we can and put one 5 kilowatt battery on this lady's house and put her in a situation where she's going to have, a
Yeah.
crazy bill, and then on to the next. So I love that you're doing that. You're leading the way, showing people the way it's done. And so if you were to kind of look over if you had a crystal ball and were to look over the next 5 years, what are some of the trends that you're excited about or things that you hope to see in the industry? Do you have anything like that you hope to see in the future of solar?
Yeah, I'm probably not the best guy to ask for that. I'm more of like the sales focused thing. I can always say what I want to see, but I don't know. I would just say, like I said, getting a bit more regulated. I think we're going to see more and more, yeah, a little bit stricter guidelines on things. I think we're going to see like lenders, financiers tightening down, continuing tighten down their processes. But yeah, we're seeing a lot of companies just, what's the word? A lot of the bigger players just come together. I think
Consolidation.
it's, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's the word consolidation. Because yeah, I mean, 5 years ago, there was like, seemed like everyone had their own solar dealer, and everyone was running out and starting like a small company. But now, as we're recording this, it's like, I think you don't see a ton of smaller dealers out there. It's like a lot of people are coming into these bigger players. I know you're with Power. You got like the Sunrun. You got like the Legacy, and there's not a lot of like smaller companies out there anymore. So I think we're going to continue to see that, and yeah, it's the people that are doing it right. I think they're all going to get um, kind of eaten up by these bigger players. And I don't know, maybe in 5 years, tough to say, but maybe in 5 years, it's just going to be the couple companies around. Who knows?
I think it
that's
will
that's what
be.
I'd say.
I think
Yeah.
it's easier to regulate a handful of big companies than it is a bunch of these little small fractured dealerships. So I think from a
Mhm.
regulation standpoint, that's where things are going to keep moving. Is you can only sell solar through these, verified, legitimate pathways, which does create more certainty for homeowners and a more mature market. If you think of any other major developed industry, mature industry, there's not, unlimited players. There's, a handful of kind of bigger brands and known names. And
Mhm.
that's what's happening. But I guess maybe let's take it to the Solarpreneur brand just specifically, since that one you have a little bit more control over.
Mhm.
What's your hope or vision for what you would like the Solarpreneur podcast or brand to become?
Yeah, I just want it to become the resource that people had, or the people the people can have. It's something that I wish I had when I started. So really, I just wanted to be the go-to thing. That's when people think of solar training, they can go to Solarpreneur and come there and know that there's going to be a resource, that there's nothing held back. Like I'm an open book. I share everything on there, and so yeah, we used to do coaching. So we may bring that back. Right now, it's more just yeah, it's more just the resource. As things get busier, you know how it is, Jonathan. Is like as you try to build your team and manage all these customers, you got to pick and choose what you're focusing on. So we're not making a big focus on our coaching program within the brand right now. But yeah, right now the goal is just build the team, and really I want it to be a resource that people can go to, and then anyone that is looking for them, as we're seeing these big consolidations happen. Yeah, my hope is the podcast can be something where people are like, man, this is, I want to work with people associated with this brands, and that they can reach out, and either I can help them find a solid team, or they can come work with us. So I want it to be something, just a resource that way too, where people know where to go, and help them land in a place that really has the best resources for them, and it's going to give them the best success. So yeah, that's the goal right now. It's always evolving as the industry evolves. Right now, it's the focus on building the team, but yeah, we'll see. Just want to be the biggest podcast out there for solar, and hopefully the industry keeps succeeding. So that's
Yeah,
kind of the hope.
I love it. Yeah, I've seen, you've been doing it for so long, your view counts. I'm seeing even recent, like you've got, is it Danny Relentless? I think is what he goes by. So
Yeah, yeah.
he's funny, but you've like really big names on the podcast that are doing really high volume. I know you just, I've been seeing you post some records, I feel like recently for yourself. You've been putting in some deals and kind of showing people how you do it, how other people do it. And you're peeling back the curtain for people to see, how do I do, 10 deals in a week? What does that look like? How much effort does that take? And maybe
Mhm.
just real high level, like for yourself or for people you've interviewed, like what's maybe one or two patterns you've noticed in these top performers that are putting in, 10 deals in a week?
Yeah, I think just they've put in the time. You look at all these guys, is I think a common thread is, they're in a lot of deals, a lot of appointments, and the high level people. Maybe we can get into this a little bit too. Is yeah, I think they're really focusing their time on the most effective tasks, and because that's something I would say was another turning point for me in my success. Is when I first started in solar, I would spend time on everything, creating the leads, following up with the customer, coming home, doing laundry, coming home, cooking my food, coming home, like editing podcasts, all these different tasks we have. And so I think to be, especially to, as we talk high volume, it really comes down to focusing on the most effective things. Because at the end of the day, we all have the same 24 hours. The highest performers, they're focusing on those little things throughout the day that are getting the best results. So that's like closing the deals, right? So I think it comes down to, if you want to close a high volume, you have to figure out, okay, how can you get inside more appointments, and how can you optimize your time so it's not like, you're coming home, and instead of you like focusing on, oh, I gotta do this, because even those little things that sometimes we don't think about, where it's like, oh, I would be home at this time anyways. Well, instead of me coming home and I'm having to like do laundry or put bandwidth towards other tasks and everything, the times when I'm producing most, it's like I'm focused on pretty much closing and then coming off and like, mentally decompressing or whatever. And then that's actually what's helping me produce at a higher level. Because before it's like I would come home and do all these other things and I couldn't decompress. And then it's like I was back at it the next day. And I think it made it harder to produce at a higher level. So that's a big thing that's helped me, and something I've seen in higher producers too is they're just yeah, figuring out a way to be most effective and get as many appointments as possible. So a lot of guys, it's like they have multiple lead sources. Maybe they have yeah, if you have setters too, they're doing the task of finding the lead. It can be done self-trading your own deals, but you just have to look at the numbers and optimize those, figure out how you can get in front of as many people as possible. But yeah, those are a couple things that help me.
How has Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu played into that?
Yeah, well, I love jiu-jitsu, man. It's yeah, we can talk about jiu-jitsu all day, but it's I think jiu-jitsu, it's a thing that requires discipline. And just like any of my background is, I don't know if I ever told you, Jonathan, is actually music. I was a music major in college and everything. And so I actually see a parallel in a lot of these things that you're developing a skill. And I'd say jujitsu is no different. It just requires discipline. It requires showing up every day. It requires like, mentally focusing in, being consistent. So all the principles that I think you can develop in like, learning an instrument, doing jujitsu, what I've seen, if you apply that same level to learning solar, if you treat it like a craft, if you treat it like a skill you're trying to develop, and really just the people that become great, they're obsessed with these things, right? And so that's what I've seen in jiu-jitsu. And you got to pick and choose. So jiu-jitsu, sometimes I got to tone it down even in jiu-jitsu, because I'm like, okay, do I want to take this appointment, or do I want to go train jiu-jitsu tonight? So it's like even that, sometimes I got to pick and choose. But yeah, no, it's helped. It's just helped with the discipline, and it's just something that I realize, okay, and it's kind of this new excitement. So in a way, it's helped the solar too, because I remember how first was when I was learning to sell solar. It's like I was looking up every possible way to improve as I started jujitsu. I've been training 4 years, so I'm still somewhat new in jujitsu. But I just remember like now I'm learning the moves. Now I'm looking up videos to learn this. Now I'm getting into this training course. So it's almost from okay, I need to bring back some of that excitement to solar too. So it's kind of like as you learn, if you get something new that you're excited about, it reminds you maybe of some excitement you lost for some other things. And so it reminded me, okay, solar can be fresh that way too. Is I kind of take some of that excitement, and I should be doing this for solar again. So I think it's helped in that way. Just give me something to be excited to learn, and yeah, try to remember the same feelings I had as I was, yeah, learning to sell solar.
That makes so much sense. Honestly, that's a great strategy. I think that's such a underutilized. What you just said there was, I just want to highlight that's so true. Like just yesterday, I hopped into a genomics talk with one of my friends who started a genomic coaching company that coaches people on how to use peptides in a way that align with your genetics. And I'm a super nerd on some of the like biology stuff, just because it's, I've had my own health struggles and journey and all that. But I got so excited by that. And it was like like my lunchtime break. It was at noon that I did it. And I've done that as well, where you kind of like get on these little side projects or passions to kind of get some energy going. Because when you're just fully immersed, like you and I both are, in running leads and appointments and managing customers and having a team, like sometimes you're like a fish in a fishbowl and you can't see outside of it. So I love that advice, right? Get outside, do something a little bit different, kind of get some, what's it called? Neuroplasticity, right? Get your brain kind of doing something unique and novel, and then bring that energy back to solar. So, so good. So you've
Yeah.
been a leader in the space a long time, Taylor. Do you manage a team right now?
Yep. Yeah, I run a team of about we got about 13 guys right now in San Diego. Yeah, we're part of a bigger office. So our whole office here, I think we have 70, 80 people in our San Diego office. So I run one of kind of like the sub teams within the office. So
So
yep, just been
I'm
growing
sure
that.
you shared some of the juice on other podcasts, we'll call it, but what has leadership taught you about yourself?
Um, yeah, I think just that sometimes you got to be intentional. You got to step out of the comfort zone. The biggest thing, part of, and I think a lot of people make the mistake when they're trying to get into leadership, they think it's just going to like come and they think it's just something that happens naturally. I was even listening to John Maxwell's book. I think it's the re-listen to the 21 irrefutable laws of leadership. I think it is great
Yeah.
book.
Yeah.
But yeah, he talked about when he first started leading that people followed him just naturally because he was excited about it and he had a lot of energy, but really he had zero leadership skills. And then the second he um, stepped away, no one followed him to where he went because he wasn't actually being a leader. And so I think I've made that mistake, and I think a lot of people make it. They think that just because they can come in and sell a lot, just because they can come in and be excited about the product, doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be a leader. Like it's a different skill you got to develop, and I'm definitely still developing it. I think I've got a long ways to go still, but just in building my smaller team right now. Um, yeah, lesson I've learned is that you got to step into being the leader, maybe before you are the leader, right? And so, like, I didn't have the manager title before I started leading people, but I realized, okay, well, if I want people to follow me, I got to start acting like the manager. I got to start acting that way before I officially have that title. And so, instead of waiting around to do the things until after they gave me the title, I started doing weekly like squad accountability calls for my team, even though I wasn't a leader. I'm just like, hey guys, we're gonna do this. We're gonna all hold each other accountable. So I stepped into that, started doing that, even though no one was asking us to. And then another big thing. I actually had this conversation with one of a guy on my team that he's one of our top setters, and we're trying to get him. I try to get him to do like team trainings. And he's like, oh, why would I do a training for everyone if I'm not making like an override? I'm like, well, how are you going to make an override if you're not willing to start doing those things? Like, why would people give you an override later, give you the position later if you're not willing to do it? And he's like, well, and it's a tough thing to wrap his mind around. I think some people think that way, but yeah, even stuff like that. So maybe it's training your team. Like I started doing trainings for the team and getting up there far before I ever had any overhead on the team, or long before I ever was a manager. And so it's just things like that. People need to learn that. And I had to learn that you got to be the leader before you have the title. You got to act the position before you're given the position, and that's how you're actually going to get the position is by acting it, and that's how you're going to learn the most, right? And even just like teaching it to other people, doing a podcast. I'm sure you felt the same way, Jonathan. It's like I felt I had tons of imposter syndrome doing a podcast, and I still do to this day because I know there's people better than me in solar. I know there's people that lead way bigger teams than I have that are more qualified to do a podcast. But it's like you step into it, you just do the thing. And I've had massive growth just by doing things that I wasn't qualified to do, just by going out there and doing it. So that's what I would encourage people to do is get rid of the imposter syndrome, do the thing that you're scared of, step into leading, step into training, and you're going to see massive growth just on yourself, just leading yourself, and people will naturally follow you as you do those things. So yeah,
Yeah,
that was a big
I
lesson for
love
me.
that. You're dropping freaking fire, Taylor. I love this. Like the now we're getting into it. I mean, that's so true. Like you've taken initiative in so many ways, and if just more people could capture that concept, which is to act as if, right? Act as if you're building it. Like I have my chat GPT, whatever, talk to me as if I am the leader of the largest decentralized clean energy platform in the country.
Nice.
So
That's awesome.
I'm not in that position right now, but right, there's power in acting as if, right? It's like you said, it's like I hear that too from people on my team where they're like, oh, well, I'll do that when I get paid or when it does this. It's like, no, it's like, you have to do those things first, and a lot of times people, they'll ask me, and they'll even be like, well, Jonathan, like I'm doing a training later today, and I put out public trainings for anybody who wants in the industry to join, to learn how to close, to learn how to set appointments, to learn how to, qualify, all the different aspects of what we do. And that, like, I've had people reach out, and they're like, well, how much money are you charging for this? Or like, I got your email for the invitation. Do I have to pay for this? Or, cause it's like, I've put time and energy and intention and money and resources into giving things away for free. And it's like, no, like, I do this for free. I've had people, like, haters on social media. Oh, what are you trying to get out of it, mister? Are you trying to sell a course? Are you trying to push this, whatever? And I've had people come in and defend me, like, no, Jonathan gives everything away for free. So, like, shut the F up, It's like,
Yeah.
but it's like, that's what it is. People have
Exactly.
this mentality where they think everybody else is, like, out to get them, or everybody else is trying to make a buck off of them. When I would say, if they can just let go of that, like, fear-based mentality, and realize that if they just step into, like, people want to talk about abundance, but they don't act like everything's abundant, right? Everybody wants to be
Yeah.
like woo woo and be like, oh yeah, everyone be Mr. Positive, kumbaya. But then when they're actually asked to do work for free, they don't actually care. And so, like, one of the turning points for myself was whenever a year and a half ago, I just got married, and the company that I had been selling a lot of deals through, Sonova, had just went bankrupt, and like 85% of my pipeline was Sonova at that time. And I ended up losing, like, nothing crazy, like 40 grand, but a lot of people lost 6-7 figures off of that.
Yeah.
And we had just gotten married, and I was like, I don't know how we're going to make it. And she's like, I don't know. And she kind of kept the faith. And I, love her so much for, being the woman that would back me up whenever things are going really, really rough. And we just got married. But also, I had to look myself in the mirror and say, is this something that you would do for free, Jonathan? Like, is this something that you care enough about that you would do for free? And honestly, most people wouldn't. Even top people in our industry, they've left, they've come back, they've bounced around, they've done this and that. And I'll refrain from throwing shade at those people, but I have a certain feeling about those type of people, right? And I have a judgment, if I'm absolutely honest, about those type of people. I'm not one of those type of people. If you're listening to this and you're one of those type of people, you're never going to be super successful. I'm going to call it right now. You're never going to be super successful. So what you're doing is right, Taylor. You've been all in from the beginning. So share with the audience, if you would, do you have any strategies or things that you're intentionally doing with your team to develop people around you? I know you mentioned accountability calls. Are there anything else that you do?
Yeah, big thing for our team is, yeah, accountability calls. We're big on just recording ourselves. We use a tool called Zero. I'm sure you heard of it, but it's just you record your presentations, and you get feedback. It's really cool now because, especially with all the AI stuff, there's no reason anyone shouldn't be. Um, yeah, just be recording yourself, because even if you just use Chat GPT or something, you can record yourself within the just on your iPhone, just send voice memos. It'll make a transcription of it, and you can easily take that and just copy paste it into like ChatGPT. Say, hey, act as a world class sales coach in the solar industry. What feedback would you give on this presentation? So even something simple like that, people can easily get feedback and make massive improvements doing things like that. So you don't even need necessarily like a coach or someone to go do it. You can just have AI do it. But yeah, that's something we're big on, is just accountability calls. And in these calls, yeah, we're tracking all our numbers. We're holding ourselves accountable to the goals, and then yeah, we're all sharing our plans for the week. So I think it's really important to have that. And yeah, it's I think a good thing about this consolidation that's happening is, I think there's more opportunity for that, because a lot of people didn't have, I think, the support at maybe some of these smaller dealers. And so that's part of what we're trying to do at Solarpreneur too. Part of the podcast is just connect people with more accountability and give them more resources. But yeah, those are two main things. And I'm trying to remember, you were asking what tools we use, or what other ways do we help the team? Was that the question?
Yeah. Or what intentional kind of strategies, or what, yeah, tools, resources. So yeah, it makes sense. So yeah, you just have basically accountability, people sharing publicly in front of other people what their commitments are, and then you have strong feedback loops to see what's working, what's not working, whether that's AI, personal coaching, just kind of helping. I would imagine probably role play. You guys do a lot of sales training and coaching. Legacy is great at that, by the way, which we'll talk a little bit about Legacy. But yes, I know you guys have been growing a lot through this consolidation as well. So that's awesome to see. And I've even told people who I've talked to about, power and coming working with me. And they're like, well, I'm considering Legacy. And I'm like, honestly, Legacy is great. They're one of the very small number of very high integrity sales forces, in my opinion, in the industry. Obviously, there's always going to be bad actors within any organization, but I think the top levels of leaders that you guys have are phenomenal. So that's really good. In terms of, let's talk about service for just a minute. So, I see that you're a very service focused person. You talk about your mission, you have your podcast, you're leading, taking action before it's being asked of you, and really leading with service. What responsibility do you think solar leaders have to homeowners, teams, and to the industry itself?
Uh, yeah. Well, yeah. I think service is everything. Goes back to one of my favorite quotes. I'm sure most people have heard of, classic Zig Ziglar, right? It's like people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And so, another one of my favorite books. It's shoot, what's the call? It's like the
World's
scrolls of
greatest.
selling. Yeah, world's greatest salesman. Yeah, one of the scrolls he talks about is you need to really just you need to like imagine loving the person, serving them. Basically, that's one of the it's one of the scrolls. You can go check out that book. So I think we have a massive responsibility to serve and really actually want to help the people. Because again, it goes back to being a professional. I think the people that are going to last in this are people that actually want to help people. They're not just doing it for the money. They're doing it because they actually have a deep belief to help people. And if you have that belief, it's going to help you so much in just pushing through the next level in your sales. So it's going to give you that extra gas in the tank to maybe push a little further. Not that you need to be pushy, but just have the conviction to really want to help the people because people don't know what they don't know. We know we're helping them out there. And if you have that conviction, if you have that service mindset, I think that's everything. I think that's the true mark of a professional. And really, our responsibility, I think, is to see people as they not as they are right now, but to see them as they can become. So, same thing as a leader, right? When you see the people, see the setter that just started in your company, if you can really serve them, see that they can become a great leader, that they can be someone that's contributes a lot to the organization, it's going to give you that deeper level conviction to help the person more, to serve that person. Same thing with your customers. They don't know anything about solar. They don't know. They've heard maybe that solar is a scam, whatever, but we know that it's not. We know we're helping them. And so I think our responsibility is to see the people that they can become your world's greatest spokesperson. And I know you're big on referrals, Jonathan. So it's like maybe seeing that person, someone that hated solar, and maybe you can see them as someone that now they just gave you 20 referrals because they're so happy. So imagine if you thought of every customer like that. They could take them from hating solar, that you can see them as someone that they love solar so much. You served them at such a deep level that now they're giving you referrals. And yeah, I think if you can envision that, then yeah, it's going to give you that deeper level. And so yeah, I think that's our responsibility.
I love that. Yeah, I often say that most salespeople only build the level of trust and service that's required to get the deal, not the level of trust and service required to get all of the deals that's in that person's network. And yeah, I got
Mm,
referral last
that's good.
night, and the guy's funny. I said, his name's Eber. I said, Eber, I wish I had 100 like you. He said, I went and talked to this neighbor. I talked to that. And I told him this. I said, look, he's a Spanish speaking guy. He goes, Ligo, look, Ligo, I'm the neighbor. I'm just trying to help you out, neighbor. Look, I'm not trying to make any money on this. Like, I just want to do what's best for you. He's
Nice.
out there
That's awesome.
evangelizing, like overcoming objections, and just, it's incredible.
Yeah.
Right. And so I'm
Yeah.
so grateful for those people, right, that are out there doing that work and spreading the word and doing it oftentimes for free at first, right? Until they figure out how to start making money. And so that's a big deal. So obviously you've done a lot of personal development. We've referenced a ton of books. We've read a lot of the same books, it sounds like. Who has been the biggest impact in your leadership journey?
Ooh, that's a good question. Biggest impact in my leadership journey. Um, I would just say, I mean, there's lots of good books, all the John Maxwell ones. Just talked about those ones have been really good. But yeah, more than any book, it's just been learning from the leaders around me. And people ask, like, oh, which company should I go to or who should I sell with? And so I think more than the company or the title, whatever, it's the people that you see that are good leaders that maybe are where you want to become and go follow those people. So that's been the biggest impact in my personal leadership journey, not necessarily like any book or program, but just going out and following the leaders that I wanted to follow. And so that's what led me to Legacy, my current company is.
So
There's leaders, leaders.
share a couple names. Give some love to one or two legacy leaders.
Yeah, we'll shout them out. Well, yeah, John Soriano over here, Mike Brands. Those were the guys that's originally got me to switch over here to Legacy. And yeah, I just saw how they led and saw how they grew. A big organization. Something I really respected about John Soriano over here. Shout out to him is he puts God first, and he's always talking about win in all areas of life, like faith, family, fitness, finance. And so I saw that in what he does. He's super active in his church. We don't go to the same church or anything, but he's always talking about God. He's putting God first, and then he wants the organization to do the same. And yeah, he started as just from the ground up a setter, knew nothing about sales, and now he's leading an entire massive division here in multiple states. And so, yeah, just people like him, they've taught me, he's taught me a lot of the principles I've mentioned before, just leading before you're given the title. Because that was one of my concerns coming to a bigger company. Anyone that's been in solar a while, even when you've been at a smaller dealer, it's like, you're the guy. I was the man. I was leading. I was like the VP of sales over 20 people, right? And so I'm like, man, I'm a big deal over here. And so to go to a bigger company where it's like I'm basically starting from scratch, I kind of had to humble myself. But that's what, gave me I'm like, okay, well, I've never grown a massive organization, and I see a guy here that did it and he started from scratch. So why can't I do it? And so that's the advice I would give is instead of following the company or any title, go look at the leaders you want to follow. Maybe it's me, maybe it's Jonathan or whatever. Go follow those people. Go follow the people that you want to emulate and want to be like. And then, yeah, you just, success leaves clues.
Yeah.
So that's been the biggest factor for me.
Shout out to Mike Brand. I didn't know you were going to mention him. He was the guy who originally onboarded and trained me at Vivint Solar in 2018. He was really my first exposure to Vivint in terms of leaders. And yeah, super cool guy. Really like Mike Brand. He's a very charismatic fellow. But yeah, that's awesome. So kind of bringing it to the end. Well, I have a few more questions, and then we'll do a little bit of a rapid fire. We'll call it a lightning round. Cool. So let's talk about this real quick. Beyond your success in the solar business, let's talk a little bit about legacy, pun intended. What is the legacy you want to leave in the solar space?
I think just what I mentioned earlier, just being the best resource that ever existed in the solar space, right? That's the goal of the podcast. It's funny, I had Ashton Buswell is actually my first guest. Speaking of Ashton, and he was actually the guy I was mentioning when I saw a high producer that didn't want to share his company's secrets. That was that guy. It was Ashton. He didn't want to share what the company was doing. Everything. Yeah. So you have to give him a hard time. Yeah.
You help push. It sounds like you helped push him over the edge to start sharing some stuff.
Yeah, I'll take the credit and crack the code with Ashton. Because at first he didn't want to share anything. He was a kind of a closed book. He's only sharing his stuff within Legacy. But now I know he shares a ton, and he's super abundant. But yeah, that's the legacy I want to leave. I just want people to think, oh, Taylor Armstrong, The podcast, it's been more value than anything else that I ever had in solar. And yeah, just hopefully a resource that people felt that they could go to. So in solar, that's definitely the legacy I want to leave. And yeah, it's been awesome to hear comments and that's what really what's kept the podcast going is just comments like that. Because people say, man, this is better than the training I get at my own company, or this helped me, this helps. So things like that. I'm sure you get similar comments on your podcast, but I think that's what keeps us going more than, yeah, I made some money from the podcast and we get recruits from the podcast. So you make money kind of indirectly here and there, but far more than the money. Like that's not the reason I've kept the podcast going. It's more just been because of connecting, having cool conversations like this, and then just being able to hear the impact it's been able to have. So yeah, I would say that's the legacy I want to leave.
That's a beautiful legacy, brother. Well, I appreciate you doing that. I know it's had a really positive impact on myself. It's been a part of my inspiration to say, hey, let me go be a content creator in the solar space as well. If Taylor can do it, I can do it, right? And I think that's
Exactly.
what I hear from you. That's what I would kind of distill a lot of this talk to, even, is that you're really sticking to the fundamentals. You're not trying to be fancy, we'll call it, or trying to do, find a way to get around doing the hard work, right? Your entire, kind of grind, we'll call it, on the doors and Brazilian jiu-jitsu and the podcast is discipline, it's consistency, and it's showing up and believing that those results are going to follow, even if it takes years sometimes for them to happen. So huge kudos to you, brother, for doing that. That is tremendous. Let's jump into the lightning round. Let's bring this home for the guests. So lightning round, first question, favorite book?
It's tough, but one that's recent that I would say had a big impact. Definitely recommend. It's called "Buy Back Your Time."
Dan
Denmark. Yeah, exactly. You know the books better than I do. But yeah, no, that's a big one, and it just talks about all of the principles I was mentioning earlier about high producers. How the high producers are buying back their time. They're focused on the highest value tasks, and yeah, so go check that one out. It changed a lot of things just that I do, and I would even say helped out my relationships too, because now I can spend more quality time with wife and kids and everything. So yeah, that's a big one. Definitely recommend that one.
Favorite podcast guest you've interviewed?
Yeah, that's another tough one. Got me tough questions. Um, but yeah, Mike Brand, he was a big one. So go listen to that one, Mike Brand. And that was funny because I kind of had some anger built up or some resentment because he pulled a quick one on me. Where when he was at Sunrun, or I don't know if it was Vivint Sunrun, we had scheduled a podcast interview, and then I showed up, and then he's like, "Oh yeah, before we start the podcast, let me introduce you to some of my other managers," and it turned into like a recruiting meeting. And then after the meeting, I'm like, "Okay, let's do the podcast." He's like, "Oh shoot, man, you know what? I've got some appointments. I'm not gonna have time anymore." And then
because he saw that sound like Mike. That totally sounds like Mike.
Yeah. So yeah, I was like, man, this guy's a dirtbag. I'm not gonna. Yeah, I'm never going to this company. And then it was actually, I think, a couple years later that he like apologized and he agreed to do a podcast, and it turned out to be one of our most listened to podcasts. So that's probably the one that comes to mind, just because kind of the funny circumstance around it, but it did really well. He dropped some bombs in it. So
I'm sure he did. I'll have to check
that one.
Yeah, he's so good at what he does. I haven't listened to that one, so I'll have to go back and listen to that one. Most underrated skill in solar?
Underrated. I think just the conviction we were talking about. Conviction and consistency. Can there be two? Maybe two if we had. But yeah, conviction, it's going to help you push past objections that other people can't. It's going to help you get deals that other people didn't, and just because you're belief in it. And then the consistency, just showing up when you don't want to. People that show up and keep doing it over and over and over, they're eventually going to have success. So just practice the consistency and everything. Go do the thing you don't want to do. And yeah, I think if you have those two, no reason anyone shouldn't be able to succeed.
Amazing. One habit that's changed your life.
Well, I guess just thinking of that, I'm gonna say the buying back your time thing, outsourcing things. And I know we already talked about that in the book. People can go read that book, Buy Back Your Time. But man, it's just like I don't think solar was starting to get so tough just with relationships, because our job, it's like we're meeting with people in the afternoons, evenings. So I will say it's a tough job to have when you have kids, when you're married. Just because right now my kids are going to school, they get back at 2, 3 o'clock, and then a lot of times that's right when I'm going out to start appointments. And so I think the only way I've been able to have sustainability in this is just outsourcing a lot of things that's maybe regular people would be doing, like laundry. That was a massive thing, because I would come back, and instead of spending time with the family, I was doing laundry for like an hour every night, just because I got 3 kids. We got a lot of laundry and stuff to clean up. And so I was getting to the point where I was like driving myself crazy, and I'm like, man, I don't know if I can keep doing this with this schedule and having to do all these things. And so, yeah, I mean, we get someone helps us with takes care of the laundry for us. We were talking about just outsourcing things, like editing podcasts. Like I don't do all the instead of me trying to edit the podcast and spend the time with that, I just hit record, say what I'm going to say, and then it goes to my team. They help scheduling guests. It's another thing. So it's just yeah, brought back just such a better mindset, such a better I guess mental recovery, where I can actually focus on work and then outsource the rest, and much more effective with the time. And it just helped me out with the sustainability. So yeah, it's a big
Yeah.
one.
And it's let you be a high performer. You've performed at pretty high levels in sales. Yeah, I know you got leadership stuff, you've got family, again, you've got Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, and you're still selling. Like you're not saying, oh, I'm going to stop doing the podcast or I'm going to stop doing that. You're like, no, I need to keep doing all these things. So I think you've done content on this, but I would love to see more of that from you. Is if you can keep sharing that content, I think a lot of listeners would be like to hear that. I know if I would like to hear it, there's probably other people that would like to hear that. You've done really well at that. I know we spoke on stage several years back at a live event that Solarpreneur hosted, and you talked specifically about how you're doing these strategies to buy back your time. So maybe a 2026 version of that is due. But last
Yeah.
question, let's bring it to a close for the guests. So if every listener listening right now could take away one lesson from your journey and apply it to their own life tomorrow, what would you want that lesson to be?
Don't give up, man. Keep going. Even when people doubt in you, you can be the biggest believer in yourself. Keep pushing forward. And if you do that, there's no reason you can't have success in anything. I was never the guy that was like came out and was the best at anything. I was always the one that felt like I had to study harder at school. I had to work harder at jiu-jitsu. I was never athletic. Um, so all those things, that's just been the biggest lesson of my life, is just you keep going. You don't give up. You're going to be the one that has success in anything. And I think that's what's required in sales. There's people that come out of the gate and have instant success. But I think most people, it's just like anything. People aren't born great salespeople. People aren't born with leadership skills. Some people might be naturally better at it, but I think in the end, some of the best leaders, some of the best salespeople, they're the people that had to develop those skills, and they're the people that just kept going when other people were quitting. And that's the people that guys want to go follow to, is people that don't give up and kept going even when things got hard. So yeah, that's what I would
Don't
say.
give up.
Let's do it.
Beautiful, brother. And where can people follow you, find you? Obviously, Solarpreneur. Go check out the podcast on YouTube. Where else can people find you, Taylor?
Yeah, shoot me a follow Instagram, just Taylor J Armstrong on Instagram. Podcast Instagram is Solarpreneur Podcast. We've got a blog and everything too, solarpreneurs.com. So you can go check out all those places. But yeah, I'd say Instagram, that's where we're posting like the clips of our content. We're also on YouTube. But yeah, pretty much anywhere. Go shoot us a follow, and love to connect with anyone listening.
Taylor, thank you so much for being on the podcast today. You're an amazing leader. You're humble, you're hardworking, and wish we had thousands more like you. But truly, you're one of a kind, brother. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jonathan. It's a good time. Appreciate it.
Yep.